right, we are here at the Eagle Creek Trailhead. We've got across the South Fork, or sorry, North Fork of the Shoshone River. It's a little above the knees, but not too bad. And this is the start of the Trident expedition. Headed to the Trident. Today we're just gonna go. Cheers, everybody. It is brewski 30 time. Whoa. Brewski 30 time here in the Springdale. And this video is being brought to you unofficially. They don't know about this. But this video is being brought to you by Mama's Little Yellow Pills. Literally my first time ever hearing about this company or trying out their beer. It's a Pilsner. It's how I rock these days, the 4%ers. This one's coming in at 4.7%. It's made by Oscar Blues Brewery. Go check them out. They're from Longmont, Colorado, and so far, I'm loving it. Anyways, on to the video. This is gonna be a two-part video. The first part of the video, I'm gonna be recapping and showing some of the highlights of my recent backpacking trip out to the Trident Plateau, which is in a pretty wild part of Yellowstone. Then after that, I'm going to go over the first 7 Guess the Spot videos. I'm going to give out the answers, give a shout out to the winners, and then maybe talk a little bit about the area and where I'm going with that game. I'll get to that in a second. First up, the Trident. And if you've never heard of the Trident Plateau, it's a huge plateau, kind of looks like a hand, has several fingers that run off of it. It sits at the southeast corner of Yellowstone National Park, and if you've ever heard of the Thoroughfare Valley, runs right below it. And supposedly that's the most remote spot, that little patrol cabin that sits out there below the Trident. It's supposed to be the farthest structure away from a road in the lower United States. And so the Trident, it's even farther than that, and there's no trails up to it, and it's actually, the top of it sits just outside of the park, and it's higher than the highest point in the park itself, which is Eagle Peak, not that far away. Anyways, on this trip, we didn't really have a plan. There's not a whole lot of information on how to climb the Trident, and so we just headed out for with like 9 or 10 days worth of food. I did this with my buddy Aaron, and we started, went up and over Eagle Pass, went into Yellowstone for a little bit, and then went out of the park and basically went up to what's called Glacier Pass on the crest of the Absaroka Mountains, right below Overlook Peak. We climbed that one. That was a really awesome spot. I think that was the highest point of the trip. We had great views up there, and really the rest of the way we had incredible views looking out in every direction, mountain peaks everywhere. And it was really cool. We saw a wolverine up there by Overlook Mountain. It saw us from a ways away. It was out on the snow, and it turned around and just ran up the snowbank and covered some ground really fast. And it was really cool when we were up on that peak. We pulled out the register paper where everybody signs in that has climbed the peak. And not a whole lot of people have climbed this one. It's another really remote spot. I think some of the entries on the main page were from the 1970s. So that was a really cool spot. And then from there, we basically walked the entire ridgeline west out to the Trident Plateau. And we weren't really sure if that was going to work, but it did. There was a few places where we had to do some like class 3 scrambling, but wasn't really crazy. No real like dangerous exposure, plenty of water up there. We did see some bears up there, but they just turned around and ran. And we actually had a really good game trail when we were up there. We had one beautiful camp along that ridge line, kind of down in a little bowl on the edge of a cliff. There are waterfalls everywhere. We saw bears from that camp. And the next day we pushed on to the Trident Plateau. The views up there are awesome. We could actually see out into Yellowstone. We could see Yellowstone Lake. And we camped up there for 2 nights and walked around on a bunch of the arms. Saw more bears and had some storms, lots of waterfalls, wildflowers. And then we actually had a tough time dropping off the plateau to the north. I took the wrong way. It was my fault. and we got into a gnarly bushwhack. I ended up losing my bear spray and my air horn and had to hike the last day and a half without either of those through like some of the most major grizzly bear country in America. And it's worth mentioning, that's probably the most bear sign, bear scat, bear tracks I've ever seen on any trip I've ever done. And I've seen a lot of that, and it's pretty normal to see bear tracks everywhere all the time. It's pretty normal to see bear scat everywhere all the time, especially in this part of Yellowstone and the Absarokas. But I've never seen it where it's been start to finish, just like every 2 minutes there's like a pile of fresh green bear crap with steam coming off it. Every time we would take a break and sit down, one of us would be like, oh, look at that. That's a bunch of digging. When we were up on top of the plateau, the whole place was just like rototilled. That was like the word we kept using. The entire landscape looked like someone had a rototiller and was just like rooting up all the rocks. And that one was crazy because that camp we actually had like not far away, we could actually see a bear bed in the grass. All the grass was like freshly matted down, and there was all these piles of green bear scat around it. And we did see bears in the morning right behind our camp, but that was kind of the norm. I think every time we set the tent up, we had bear scat within like 10 or 20 steps of the tents. But they didn't really mess with us. We don't even know how many we saw, just because a lot of times we could see them kind of far away up on the hillsides, and you'd see a few moving around. You couldn't tell if it was like the same one or multiple ones, but we did see a lot. They were out there, and they seemed to give us a lot of space. We saw a lot of elk. Did see that wolverine. That was pretty cool. No wolf sign, and hardly any people. Pretty awesome trip. I'm going to be making a much longer video for this trip coming up, but it's going to take me a little bit of time because I have a lot of footage. But anyways, that is it for the Trident, and now it's time to move on to the Guess the Spots. And just to start with, I'm trying this out. Basically, my idea is just to have some fun, create some interaction. It's going to get me warmed up for trying to make videos on a regular basis, and just gives me practice at storytelling and being creative. And I feel like it's going to create some interaction with other people. Gives you, the viewer, a chance to have something fun to look at during the week and maybe discover a new place. And so I'm going to be trying to put these out for right now a couple times a week. It'll vary. Just sometimes I'm doing trips or I have some technical problems and it's not always smooth. But the idea is to get into a rhythm where I have a bunch of them and I can just be putting them out on a regular basis. And I have a lot more ideas with that. Talk about that later. Let's just get into these first 7. Question number 1. I was having trouble opening my beer at the confluence of what 2 rivers? And the answer is, this is where Hell Roaring Creek comes into the Yellowstone River. This is up in the northern part of Yellowstone National Park. This area is commonly called the Black Canyon of the Yellowstone. And this is footage from a trip I did earlier this year with my good buddy Bob. It was kind of funny. I couldn't open my beer and there just happened to be an elk jawbone sitting right there along the river, and 1 or 2 bangs with a rock, and I popped it open and had a brewski 30. But great job, Wick T, for getting this one right. Wick was the only person to guess this one correctly. And again, it's Hell Roaring Creek and the Yellowstone River. So good job, Wick. Question number 2. What mountain peak did we see a wolverine running up? And I've already given the answer away in the first part of this video. It was from my trip out to the Trident, and the answer was Overlook Mountain. And a lot of people guessed on this one. A lot of people were close, but Carrie G was the only person to get this one right. Great job, Carrie. This was Overlook Mountain, and this is a really remote mountain peak. It's a long hike to get out there, but it's really not a hard scramble to the top. The views are awesome, and just a beautiful place in the Absarokas. So go check it out. Question number 3. What lake is this? And this one was answered almost instantaneously by my good buddy Andrew, aka Northwest Wanderer on YouTube. Andrew said Duck Lake, and that is correct. Duck Lake is in the Sierra Mountains. This is just outside of Mammoth Lakes, California. And the footage is from a short trip I did with Kat. She got sick, we had to hike out early, and she has made a video for this one, which you could watch over on her channel. I'll put a link in the description below. But great job, Andrew. This is Duck Lake in the Sierra. Question 4. This one was so good it even stumped me, and I took the photo. The question was, where did I take the photo for my Own Frontier logo? And I have to apologize to Tom L. I congratulated you a little too early. We both got this one wrong. I originally thought I was in the Grand Canyon when I took the photo, but turns out I was in Canyonlands. Kathy M. in Missouri, she showed up to the question about a week after I posted it, and she was the only person to say that it was in Canyonlands overlooking the confluence of the Green and Colorado rivers. And I actually had to go back and look through my photo files to verify this, and yes, Kathy, you are right. Incredible job. That's exactly where I took the photo, and it's a beautiful place. This is in the Islands in the Sky district of Canyonlands, just outside of Moab. So great job, Kathy. Question number 5. What waterfall is this? This is Snake Indian Falls, which is just outside of the town of Jasper in Jasper National Park, Canada. It's a beautiful waterfall. It has a great trail out to it. You can actually take your bike out there, and there's some good camps in there. Christy R. was the only person to guess this one correctly. Great job, Christy. And if you haven't heard, Jasper's had some really bad fires this year. It's really sad. A third of the town has burned down completely, and it actually all happened right after I spent a month there. So keeping Jasper in my prayers, but great job, Christy. Snake Indian Falls in Jasper National Park. Question number 6. What canyon is this? A lot of people guessed on this one. A lot of people were really close, and a lot of people got it right. However, Michael Smith, you were the first person to say Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne River correctly. So good job, Michael. And this is the Grand Canyon in Yosemite National Park. It's a beautiful canyon along the Tuolumne River. A lot of white slick rock in there, waterfalls, beautiful campsites, and just beautiful scenery. And this footage was from a trip I just did with Kat. She's made a video for that one as well. So again, go check out her link below to watch some of these videos that these Guess the Spots are coming from. Anyways, question number 7. This one was kind of tricky, maybe even a little confusing, but hey, I gotta make them hard. And the question was, what reservoir was I smoking a bowl by? Correct answer was Vallecito Reservoir, which is just outside of Durango, Colorado. And this is in the southwest corner of the San Juan Mountains, one of my favorite mountain ranges and just areas in general. And the question was a little confusing because I gave a clue, and I said that this reservoir was near the 1979 grizzly bear attack that took place in the South San Juans. And that was a good clue. Got people thinking Colorado, but it was confusing because there are reservoirs closer to the spot, and that threw a lot of people off. But like I said, gotta be tricky. Darren D was the first person to guess Vallecito Reservoir. So great job, Darren. And oh, by the way, Darren D is the first person to go back to back on correctly answering Guess the Spot questions, because he got number 8 correctly, and I know I said I was doing the first 7, but hey, I threw number 8 out there, and Darren D was on it again, and he guessed Leo Carrillo State Beach, which is just outside of Malibu, California on the Pacific Ocean. But hey, we'll get to that one later, but great job, Darren, for getting 2 in a row. All right, that is a wrap for this video. Congratulations to all the winners, and thanks to all of you for watching. And be sure to tune in to the next episode to see more highlights from another trip. Don't even know what the next trip is I'm going to show highlights of, but tune in next time. You can see that and the answers to the next several Guess the Spots. All right, cheers.